and Dotloop class today. So you can access Dotloop either through dotloop.com or through mykw.com. Dotloop is going to be where all of your contracts are stored and where they go through the compliance process so that you can get paid. A green sheet is used to alert us that we should be expecting a check or a closing from you soon and to prepare your file for closing. Okay, so both are really important to you getting a paycheck, which is the most important thing, right? So let's start out on Dotloop. So you can either type dotloop.com in, or if you're on your mykw.kw.com site, you can access it either way. So if you're in Dotloop, you'll log in and it will look a lot like this. If you're in mykw, on this homepage here, you're going to click Start My Transaction. You guys see that right there, and that's also going to take you to Dotloop. It might make me log in again, but once I've logged in, it will take me right into my Dotloop account. So first, let me give you a brief tour of everything that you see here. So most likely your loops will be in this view. You'll see a big red plus sign here and then a sample loop. That big red plus sign is going to be your create a loop button. So if you're creating a loop for the first time, that's going to be handy to you. And then if you have a sample loop there, I definitely suggest kind of playing around in that loop and getting used to it, practicing adding files and all the stuff that we go over today so that you can feel really comfortable with it when you do get a contract. So that are those two buttons. Next, looking up here, you're going to see a filter button. So you can filter your loops based on various things. If it's under contract and active listing, sold, archived, pre-listing, terminated, that just helps keep you organized. So if you keep the statuses of your loops pretty organized as you go, you're able to filter through them later. So, maybe one day I want to filter through everything that's archived because maybe I need one of my clients' email addresses. It's not on my database for some reason. You can go through all your archived files and easily find it that way. So it is really helpful to have that filter tool there. If I was going to select, let's say, archive, for example, I just click that. I hit filter, and then that will show all of my archived loops. You always want to make sure to unclick or clear all your filters and refilter. Sometimes I get calls about people who say, I can't see my loop, it disappeared, and typically it's just because they accidentally have a filter checked. So if you aren't trying to filter, always check those if it seems like something has disappeared. Right next to that filter button is what we call the activity log. So this is great because this is a record of every single thing that has happened in every single loop. You can see when someone's viewed something, signed, if something was successfully sent, and you can actually do this inside every loop, has its own activity log, and then every document actually has its own document history. So you can even see down to the document signatures that have been added, sent, things that text box that have been added, that sort of thing. Gives you a record of everything that's happened so that you can make sure nothing funky is going on your contracts, okay? So like I can see that Mark Tackett's viewed this offer, and it's even timestamped. It tells you what time he viewed it. So we're going to go back so we don't creep on anyone's business there. Next to activity log, you can sort by, so you can sort your loops by address, last updated, MLS number, purchase price, closing date. Closing date's a good one to sort by because you might want to see everything that's closing soonest so that you can make sure those files are complete and work your way down, that sort of thing. So we're going to go ahead and sort by agent name. And then I'm not sure if you guys have this option, but you can switch between views, I believe. And then when you choose the list view, you can search for a specific loop. So while I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and search for my example loops. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 perfect loop lane and 4, 3, 2, 1 flawless loop road. So those are the examples I'll work with today. Moving up here you'll see a little dashboard for reporting. So if you do keep your loops accurate, this might give you some depiction of your total sales year to date, but I would just trust the MyKW reports instead of these. But that is basically what the dashboard is. It's not super pertinent. Loops, of course, this will have all of your loops. tasks. So you can create tasks in Dotloop. You can assign them, especially if you have an admin or assistant, this might be helpful. So you can assign your team specific tasks and give them due dates. You can all see this within the loop so that everyone's on board of what's getting done or where you are in the transaction timeline. For loop tasks, you can look at your tasks. So these would be ones that are assigned to me, or ones that are overdue or completed, all tasks. And this is also where you can add tasks too. Now you can add tasks within the loop, but you can do them here as well. People, this is going to be every person you've ever shared a loop with. So you'll have to click down here on contacts, but it will have everyone's name and email of everyone you've ever shared a loop with, request a signature from, that sort of thing. Templates, so this is probably one of the most important parts. So under templates, you guys are going to have less options over here, but your two most important categories are going to be Office Docs and then the GAR interactive documents. So Office Docs are going to have a contract and listing checklist that's super helpful for you to stay on track with your transaction and to know what sort of documents you might need during a contract or listing. It's going to have your F-117, a fraud disclosure, affiliated business disclosure. Our W-9 is always uploaded in here, so you never have to actually email us and ask for that. A signed version is always available in your loop. Withdrawal forms will be in here, your F-118, your DA request form, and then there's a couple other things down here as well. And then GAR interactive documents, those are going to be your Georgia Realtor forms. So these are all of the forms that you would possibly need for a deal. So you can search, that's the best way to do it. If you need a purchase and sale, for example, you can search for that. You can see they have commercial condominiums, exhibits, and then let's see, purchase and sale, GAR F20 there. If you have your handy dandy GAR index that's included in your new agent book, you can also search for the GAR form name, and that will come right up. That makes it a bit easier to find what form you actually need. And then you can create your own document templates as well. So let's say that you work a lot with condos. It might behoove you to create a documents template with all of the folders that, or all of the files that you might need for a condo, so that when you're creating a loop for that piece of business, you can just automatically add the documents that you need and you don't have to scroll through here and everything like that. You can do that down here in loop templates. You can add a new loop template. And I'm pretty sure Dotloop has a ton of videos on YouTube that will go in depth kind of more how to do that. Last thing I want to point out is over here on the side, you'll see a little circle that maybe has your face on it or it has a placeholder image. This is where you can edit your account. So by clicking my account, it's going to take you into your personal information. You can also add a photo. You can change phone numbers around if you edit that. You can go to your profile here. So know that there is a difference between your Dotloop account and your Dotloop profile. You can have multiple profiles. This especially applies to agents who might have been in a previous Keller Williams office and transfer over. You'll notice that you'll have two profiles. I do suggest renaming those so that one says Midtown, one says your previous office, as not to get confused. But your account will be your blanket information, and then your profile will be the details that will show up on documents that you add when you're in that profile. So this is where you can change your picture, phone number, profile details. If I set you up, then the broker license number should already be in there. You can plug your license number in here. You can add your brokerage associations, and you can add your company information. This is helpful because that will help autofill some of your contracts. Also, if you scroll down, notification settings. So this is really helpful. You can check when you want to be notified via email. So obviously, as admin, I have some things unchecked because otherwise I would get nothing but Dotloop emails from you guys. But you'll probably want to have everything checked on here, everything from a document being signed to shared, edited, reminders, that good stuff. You'll probably want to have most of those checked. If you do make any changes, make sure to save there at the bottom. I do want to take the liberty of pointing out here at the bottom the Help Center and the Dotloop phone number. So if you click on this Help Center, it's going to literally take you to articles that walk through step by step of everything that I'm going over in this class. So you can click on agents, account setup, your first loop, people and contacts, working with templates, managing your loops, making a copy, drag and drop documents. So pretty much everything that you need to know how to do in the loop will wind up in this help center. So that walks you through step by step, which might be a little bit better for you if you like to read. If you like to watch, then this video will be helpful. Also, Dotloop support is really awesome. They can pretty much solve anything, and if they can't solve it right then, they'll give you a call back. So I do suggest using that help center call line unless you think it's something I can answer. I of course have gotten a lot of questions, so sometimes I already know the answer, but you'd be surprised that I encounter new things all the time. So calling that line sometimes can cut out the middleman if you want to. All right, so all of that being said, we're going to head back to our loops. So if you're creating a loop for the first time, you are going to click that nice big red check mark button or the create a loop button, depending on what view you have set up. We are going to go ahead and open our sample loop too. So let's create a loop. So the first thing you're going to do is name your loop. Now, if you're working with a buyer, you don't have a property address yet, most likely because you'll probably use Dotloop to do some prerequisite documents before you start working with the buyer. So it's okay before you get an address to title the loop the name of the buyer. So let's say buyer Betty. Let's say, actually I always use the name Betty. Let's do buyer Bethany. So buyer Bethany, that's who we're working with. So if you're working with a buyer, you make it the buyer name. If you're working with a listing, then you probably already know the address. So you can start typing that in, and then you might see some things pop up. So you see it's trying to autofill or guess what the address of your property is, and it's going to give you a source. So source.loop and who the listing agent was, source.loop. And then sometimes you'll see, okay, so there's an MLS source, and then they also have Google Maps. I do not suggest using anyone else's templates or pre-created loops or anything. It's always better to just rather be safe than sorry, start with a blank loop, and don't trust what another agent did, because you never know if they, did everything properly, and you don't want any information that might be incorrect to populate into your loop, okay? So just know if you're working with a listing, I would avoid selecting an address. So now we're gonna go back to our buyer name. And if you are working with a listing and you wanna make those things go away, you can just click over in the white space and it will go right away. So buyer Bethany, and then we also have the opportunity to select a template here. I actually don't suggest using templates at this phase. I'll show you how to apply them later, but by avoiding selecting a template now, you're going to be able to autofill more information before you add any documents. Afterwards, if you get a template now, it's going to cause more steps later to autofill. So I just suggest starting with a blank loop. You're going to hit create a loop, and then it's going to take us into a blank loop. And now I'm going to explain what everything is that you're seeing here. So the title of your loop is going to be at the top. You'll see if you do have any tasks in here, then this little circle will turn more and more red as tasks are completed. If you don't have any tasks, it will stay gray, and it does not matter at all. You can select your transaction type, view details. Don't worry, we'll go into both of those. You can view your activity log for this loop, submit for reviews up here, any notifications or messages. So you can message through the loop to other Dotloop users. So anything will show up here that's a message. Any notification that something has been signed or that someone has left you a note will show up here. Down to adding documents. So this is our first folder. You can add additional folders. You can add as many as you want, though I only suggest adding about 3 in each loop. And then you can choose if you want to upload documents from templates that we went over earlier, if you want to browse from your computer, or if there's actually a document in your email, you can forward that document over here. Then you'll see local service providers, so you'll recognize some of these people's faces, our mortgage people, home inspectors, home warranties. you can manage these, so you can put in your own providers if you want, and then if you need to add one of them to a loop, their information will already be in there. You can add your people down here, you can add tasks down here, and that's the basis of a blank loop. Now, when you first create a loop, let's see if it shows me. It sure does. So when you first create a loop, of course there won't be all of these documents in there, but if you scroll down to My People, this is the first thing I want you to do when you start a blank loop. So when your loop just looks like this, the first thing I want you to do is scroll down, and instead of not seeing anyone, you're always going to actually see both yourself and the office. And you're going to see that we're marked as admin. You want to change this to either buying or listing broker. By doing that, you will be able to autofill your documents with all of the brokerage information. So you want to go through here and you want to select buying broker, and then for yourself, you want to make sure that you're the buying agent. Make sense? Of course. So that's the first thing you want to do in your loop, okay? The second thing you want to do in your loop is go up to the top, select transaction type. So this is going to be a purchase. The loop status is, we're going to say a pre-offer because nothing's under contract yet. And then we're going to click view details. So this is where it gets exciting, guys. So under view details, the more information that you plug in on this page, the more information that will not only autofill on your contracts, but will also autofill on your green sheet when it's time to submit that. So that's why I highly suggest filling out these view details first. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that we're changed over here as the buying broker. Cool. You can change the title of your loop on the view details page by clicking up here. You'll see that cursor will pop up, and you can change that. You can also do the same thing, change the transaction type, loop status on this page as well. You can add people on this page as well, and then we get down to the nitty-gritty. So obviously, if I'm working with a buyer, I don't have a property address yet, and I don't have financials or contract dates or anything like that. But once you do secure a property, you will come and fill this stuff out. So let's go back to our loop. So we're working with buyer Bethany, and it's time to do a buyer brokerage agreement. So in my folder here, I'm going to go ahead and click these 3 dots over on the side. For the record, 3 dots on most technology or websites always means more options. So by it's either 3 dots or 3 bars. You'll notice that on your Google, those sorts of things have that as well. So those 3 dots, and I'm going to go ahead and rename this folder. And I'm going to rename this folder Contract Docs. And then because I'm a really good agent, I'm going to go ahead and add a folder that says Closing Docs, because I'm going to need both of those folders at some point. And since my contract's going to come first, I'm going to move that folder up here. Okay. So now in my contract docs, I'm going to click Add a Document, and we're going to go into our templates. Now remember, this is where all of your GAR docs will be. So you click GAR Interactive Documents, and I'm going to search for a buyer brokerage. And we're going to say I want to do an exclusive buyer brokerage. If you wanted to add multiple documents, you can do that. You can also select all. So if you're choosing to use one of our templates, so if I'm working with a buyer, these are all of the documents that you might possibly need for a buyer. And then we have the same thing for the listing. So there's going to be stuff in here you don't need, but we decided to just include everything you might possibly need. So you can also select all of those and upload those. But for now, we're just going to work with the buyer brokerage. Oops, deselect all buyer brokerage. So I'm going to click exclusive, and I'm going to hit copy. I've got a little ghost. Oh no, I inserted all of the documents. Well, that's okay. Now I have the opportunity to show you how to delete. So I don't want these, so I'm going to select all of those, and I'm going to archive them. So in Dotloop, you can never actually delete anything. You can only archive it. That's a great fail-safe for you in case you ever accidentally delete an important contract. You can recover it. That keeps you from deleting important things. It also keeps anything from being deleted that maybe you didn't delete. Maybe your admin accidentally deleted it or something. So we're just going to copy the exclusive buyer brokerage in. Yay, there it is. So when you have a document in, it will be like that. Now over here on the side, you'll see the word optional. This is because this is a Dotloop document. Once this is a PDF, it will say PDF over here, and we'll talk about that. So from here, you can share right from here, but we're not going to do that yet. You can also see if it's been shared yet. So obviously we haven't shared this one yet. It says not shared. So we're going to click open our document. And you're going to see that all of the Dotloop documents have blanks on them, so it's just easy to fill in for you. So we're not going to add anyone right now, but it is asking us to confirm that this is the information that's going to autofill. Remember when I said we need to change this to buying broker? That's so that you don't really have to remember our license number, that sort of thing. So we're going to click autofill. So your document will come right up. All of the blanks will be here, and you'll be able to fill all of this information in. Super easy. Select your dates, that sort of thing. So let's say we're done filling this out. We are ready for our buyers to sign it. So for this signature, you're going to click that, assigned to, and you're going to assign it to your buyer. So let's say my buyer's information is in here. I'm going to actually add myself. So it is buyer Bethany, right? So I'm going to add her. I'm going to send it to regentservices630@gmail.com. Then you can add as much information about them as you want. So if you want to put their phone number in there, if you know their address already, or their current address, that sort of thing, if you can put that in there, and then it will autofill on other documents that might be requesting that same information. So we're going to add her. It'll say buyer sign here. We're going to click save and share, and that's going to go to our client's email. It's going to ask you to confirm. So this part is very important. So on share document, you're going to see that buyer Bethany is selected. One field is being assigned to her, and she can sign it. So this is where you can adjust the permissions of sharing documents. So you can make it where people can only view, can sign, can fill and sign, or can edit in private. You never want really things to be able to be edited in private, because you want to be able to get that activity log of what's been happening with your documents. So especially for your clients, they're mostly just going to be signing things. So we're going to make sure to check that, and we're going to add a nice message. Hey Bethany, we're going to explain what this document is, and then we're going to tell her that we're going to be texting her for confirmation that she received it, and to ask if she has any questions, that sort of thing. I think it's also always nice to attach the PDF to the email. This is also a great move when working with any agent, honestly, because they might not use Dotloop, and so by clicking attach to PDF, you're trying to be more accommodating to them, right? Knowing that they might not use Dotloop, they might use another system, or they might have things hand signed or hand filled. So I always suggest clicking that button. Then you click share. Say please wait. Yay, this document's been shared and it's waiting on others. So that goes to your client's email, where they can then sign the document. So once they've gone in and signed, this will update automatically. You can go back in and check. When your documents have been fully signed, I completely recommend using these three dots, downloading them, and then adding the document again. So we can actually drag and drop files here in Dotloop. So now that this has been completely signed, you see how it says PDF? So this is the Dotloop version that we sent to our client. We're pretending that the client signed it already, and then we downloaded that as a PDF and re-uploaded it. We're going to use our three dots again. We're going to rename it executed to remind us that's signed. And then I don't really need this anymore, so I'm just going to archive it, because I can always pull it back later if I need it. So let's say, oh, I need that. You can scroll up to show archived, and because I accidentally put all those documents in there, those are here. But that document is here, and you can add that back to your loop if you need to. So we're going to hide archives now. Cool. So now that our signed document is in here, that's awesome. We're good to go. So So let's say we've been working with buyer Bethany. We have found a listing for her to buy, and she's super excited about it. We're ready to go. Got to move on to the next step. So we're going to go back into our view details. And the first thing we're going to do is change this loop title from buyer Bethany to 123 Perfect Home Road, Atlanta, Georgia 30309. Okay. You can upload a photo to your loop if you feel like putting a photo of the home there. You can do that. So yes, this is still a purchase, but now we're going to go under contract, so I'm going to go ahead and say that. Our people are still on here, and so now we get down to the property address. So you can search for the information here, but remember what I said about using other people, trusting other people's information. So I wouldn't do that. I'd go right down to the street number here, and I would still I would go ahead and start filling this out. Unit number, city, state, county, MLS number, the tax ID you can add. Then you get down to the financials. Let's say it's $250. If there's a title fee, the sales commission you can add, the dollar amount if you want. You can add all of this information in there, the earnest money amount, who it's held by. Then we get to our contract dates. So let's say that she's going to sign the contract. We're just going to put some fake dates in there. You also always want to put a closing date. This is super important so that your loop is not overlooked, as if we see that it's closing sooner, we're going to address it sooner. So let's say that it's closing the 7th. Any offer dates. Obviously if you're working with a listing, then you're going to have a bunch of listing information to start. But for now, this is the information that we'll go ahead and put in. And you'll basically learn over time what exactly is filled in and what you need to complete and what is unnecessary. So just remember that. So after completing information, we're going to click Save. We put all the information we know about the property that Bethany is buying into this. So now we're going to go back to our loop, and we're going to go back to our documents, and we're going to add a document from our templates, and we're going to add a purchase and sale agreement. Guess I need to be more specific, huh? We're going to add our purchase and sale agreement. It's going to import, yay. We're going to open that. And whoa, autofill time. So your buyer's in there. Of course, we're in there. The buying agent would be yourself. You would automatically be in there. Then it's asking me to confirm all the stuff that's about to autofill on this document. So all the stuff that we just filled out in that View Details tab, this is going to autofill on that document. So you might notice like, oh, I missed something. I'm going to add that in there so that it shows up on my document. Yay, right? So you click autofill, and then anything that autofills will turn yellow the first time that you autofill. And then you can complete your contract. So you'll go through, you'll pick your legal description, you'll pick the earnest money, and you'll go through, complete the contract. At the very bottom, similar to how we did the buyer brokerage, once it's complete, you'll assign the different signature fields to your buyers, and then you'll send this to your buyers, the clients, the co-op agent, or their clients, however you guys have decided to communicate. That'll be signed, and then you'll be well on your way. Okay, so let's say purchase agreement is done. All of your documents. So now we're switching to future you, right? So we're going to go over to one of my example loops, not sample. Let's see. Okay, so we're going to go over to Flawless Loop Road. Oh no, we're not. We're going to go to Perfect Loop Lane. So let's say all of your documents are in here and ready to go. Now, this example is a listing, so it's not really different in terms of how this class goes, but for this loop, everything is perfect. Look at these folders, so nice and organized. I've got all my list paperwork in one. I've got the offer that is going through. So let's say this was a multiple offer situation and I had a different folder for every offer, but this is the one that we need to review. I just archived those other offers so that the only one that we need is in here. I got my closing paperwork. So your loop is perfect. It's ready to be submitted to the office. You know, everything's binding. It's good to go. So now we're going to move into the transaction flow chart and green sheet portion of the class. So I'm going to exit out of everything but this loop, my transaction flow chart. So looking at the transaction flow chart really quick, you can see the arrow that says start here. Sorry, my little bar popped up there, but this is the arrow that starts here. So when you get a binding agreement, you will submit your earnest money either to the closing attorney or to us, whomever will be holding that. And then you're going to submit your green sheet within 3 days of binding. So you need to do that within 3 days. The earlier that we have it, the sooner that we can ensure that your loop gets looked at thoroughly, that your green sheet's accepted, and it gives you enough time to correct any errors before your closing date so that you can get your check as soon as possible. That's really the goal here. So submit your green sheet within 3 days of binding. How do you submit a green sheet? So in your loop, if you go to view details, you might have noticed a submit to green sheet button here. It's also at the bottom as well. So you can submit to green sheet directly from the loop. If you've completed all this information, this is a pretty smart thing to do because that means when you go into your green sheet, all of this will automatically be filled in on your green sheet, saves you time. If you prefer to start with a fresh green sheet, you're going to go into your MyKW. Or if you're having issues submitting from the loop, so technology is not perfect, sometimes the connection between your Dotloop and your MyKW gets a little wrinkled, so you might have to go into KW sometimes. On your main page, you're going to hover over technology. You're going to go to green sheets, maybe the fifth thing from the top there. And it's going to take you into a page that looks a little bit like this. You're going to create a green sheet using this plus sign right here. Now, I actually suggest that for these first two questions, you answer no. Know that if you submit to green sheet from your loop, it will bring you directly to this page. So it will route you here. So even if you're the listing agent, I do actually suggest saying no. Seems counterintuitive, but I'll tell you why. And if it's KW listing, I suggest you saying no as well. And that's going to take you into the green sheet. And if you've completed your view details in Dotloop, a lot of this information will automatically be filled out. If you select yes to those first two questions, it's going to take you into KWLS to locate your listing, which isn't really necessary because your information, if you're submitting from Dotloop, will already be autofilled on here and you don't need KWLS to autofill it. So it just bypasses you going through that step. So when you get to your green sheet, the first thing you're going to see is the FMLS number. If it was in Georgia MLS, we don't need that number. We just need to know if it's an FMLS number. So you're going to enter that. Next, we go to green sheet type. So is it residential or commercial? Your contract date. You'll pick your closing date. Your transaction type. So know that the things that I begin to select are going to change what the rest of the green sheet allows you to select, right? So if I select, buyer, it's going to only allow me to select certain things later on. If I only select listing, you get it. So we're going to select buyer. So this was a purchase. The class, it's a property, not a lease. Know that, and this is key, if you're doing a referral, you do still have to have a loop and you have to do a green sheet. Anytime you expect a check from us, you have to do a green sheet. So if it's a referral, you're actually going to select other, and then for the class, look at that. You have the option to select referral. So we're going to go back to our buyer sale though, property. So only the things in red are things that you have to fill out. So this is a resale. Those are the various options that you can choose from. Our street number, street name, city, state, zip code, county, Next section. Earnest money amount, who's holding it, sales price. So we're going to say $250. And then you can just select if you're getting percentage or flat. If you're getting a flat, it will give you a dollar box. You can put your commission in. If you're doing a percentage, you can enter that percentage and it will give you a gray box automatic calculation of what your commission would be. Next section. We just need you to put your buyer name, please. That's to track if something falls through. We need to make sure that the correct buyer and seller are being updated. Then we get down to agent detail. So if you're doing a deal with another agent in our office, you guys are splitting the deal or you're on a team, that's when you'll utilize the different columns. If you're just doing a deal alone, you just focus on column A. It will automatically have your name on it. You can use the magnifying glass if you are an admin and, for example, you can search for another agent in the office. They'll come up. You can select them. We're not going to do that to mess anything up, but then you select the agent role. So we're going to just say I'm the lead agent. We're going to say it's a buyer sale, agency, buyer, unit. So for example, if I was splitting this deal, maybe the unit, maybe me and the other agent are going to do 50-50. So I might put 0.5 of the unit's going to be mine and 0.5 of the unit's going to be theirs. Because I'm doing this deal alone, it's just one unit for me. And then you'll see things start to autofill. So yay, my gross commission. If there was an outside referral, so let's say someone at KW in town gave me this client and I need to pay them an outside referral percentage, I can put that there. It'll automatically calculate how much money I will be coming out of my check to pay for that referral. Anything like bonus or admin fee you can include. Most of you guys won't really be using that. Agent commission split, so most people here are in 70-30. You actually don't need to change this even if you've capped. It seems a little counterintuitive. If you want to know what your net check is, then that's fine. You can change it, but you don't have to because our system actually knows when you capped. It's smarter than most of us, so it'll automatically adjust your numbers. It'll adjust your check otherwise, what it should be. So you can change it if you want to, but you don't need to even if you've capped. Give you the subtotal. Your associate royalty rate's always at 6%. You can say if you've capped on royalty, but like I said, our system's going to correct, even if you put what's wrong there, our system's going to correct it to what it is. So no worries about that. You do have the opportunity on every green sheet to donate to KW Cares, KW Kids Can, and the Bold Scholarship. So some people like to donate $5 every green sheet, that sort of thing. If you aren't donating, please make sure to zero those out so that your green sheet's submitted the first time. If you're paying for the home warranty at all or any concessions, you'll add that. And then we get down to deductions. So this is where if you prefer to calculate your FMLS fee so that you know what your net check is going to be, you can do that here. Our sales price is $250,000, so we're going to multiply that times 0.0012, and we're going to get that you're going to owe FMLS $300 for that listing. If you're in productivity coaching, then you're going to add that as well. So let's say we're in PC, and let's see, where is our gross commission is $7,500. So we're going to pay $375 to our amazing mentors. And remember, we had a referral on this one too, so we've got a lot of deductions coming out. And then let's say, you know what, I just want to go ahead and pay my office bill for December, just take it out. You can actually add that too. Then down here at the bottom, it's going to give you a net of what your check will look like. It's a great way to kind of know what you're expecting. Now, we did have a referral on this, right? So you do want to fill out the agent referral. Agent A is going to be the one paying that. You're going to need to get the tax ID from the other office. So you're going to need the other office's W-9. You can request that from their front desk so that you can include their tax ID, as well as the address of the office so we know where to mail the check. Our next section, so co-broker, so this is where you'll put in the agent that you worked with and their phone number. So let's say you worked with someone at Engel and Volkers. You're going to put their name here, and then you're going to put their phone number. Then you're going to put their company name so that we can give them a call and say, congrats on the deal. Thanks for working with one of our agents. We hope you work with us again, that sort of thing. If you have talked to them about KW, you can select those. If you think they'd be a good fit, yes, and you can tell us why. Let's say amazing mentor. Next section, any vendors that we might need to know about, any information that we're going to be paying out to someone for those vendors, you can include that there. And then last but not least, any notes. So if there's anything weird or special or funky about the screen sheet, you just want to make sure that we see it. You can add anything important like please make out referral to Annie agent, to attention Annie agent, KW in town. If maybe the other agent has requested it be sent to a specific person. Then you just click submit to MCA and then submit green sheet. It goes off into our hands. And after submitting that green sheet, it will be marked accepted. And this is actually not quite right, but you will actually submit your loop for review. So your green sheet will be pulled into our system, and then immediately after you've done your green sheet, you're going to go into your loop here. You're going to select all of your folders. You're going to scroll to the top. You're going to hit submit for review. So right now it's like, hey, you don't have enough details in there. Go ahead and fill those out. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to fill those out. And then I'm going to hit next. Oh no, sorry, I accidentally went back. Oops. I'm going to hit next. I'm going to select my folders. This is going to be a contract, so I'm going to click contract. I'm going to submit. Yay, now your loop will go into queue for review. So the first thing you're going to notice, it's going to say DFI, green sheet, and earnest money review. So our director of first impressions is going to, or our assistant market center administrator is going to review your green sheet and earnest money and pull it into our system. After that, it is going to be, after they have checked and ensured that your green sheet has been submitted, it is going to be automatically changed to CB contract compliance. That means that it is being reviewed by our compliance broker. So she's checking that every box is checked, that every strike through is initialed, that every exhibit is present and signed, and she is going to be detailed about those things. This is very important because you never want to get in a situation legally. So our job as your broker is to protect you from that from happening. Okay, we do appreciate your patience, because we're really just trying to protect you. So your loop will undergo initial compliance review. Now there are two tracks here. If your loop is compliant, then you are a genius and you're great at contracts. It's going to be marked attention agent, and then it will tell you what to do next. So it will automatically be marked one of these many statuses. So just know that if you ever get a message that says attention agent, it's because you need to do something before we can do our next part, or that you need to do something that's standing in the way of getting a check. So either your green sheet or earnest money is missing, your loop is not in compliance, your check is being held because you need to correct the tags, you're ready for a closing or DA request. That's good. That means you can complete that and get paid. If it's terminated, then that's missing signatures. That your DA has been signed and you're ready for closing, or that your DA has been signed and the earnest money is ready to be picked up. And last but not least, unable to review loop. So this is a sad one. This one means that your loop is too ridiculously disorganized for us to make sense of what needs to be reviewed. Maybe you have 12 buyer brokerage agreements. None of them are marked as executed. Maybe too many things are missing to where this really isn't ready for review. In that case, check your messages, see if you've been left a note at all over here of what the reasoning is for it. Make those corrections and submit for review again. Anytime you need us to look at anything, you need to submit for review again. So in this case, if your loop is perfect, it's going to be marked attention agent, ready for closing or DA request. Yay, that's a good one. So then we're going to add our document. We're going to go to our templates. We're going to go to Office Docs. We're going to type in DA request form. Yay! We're going to copy that, and we're going to open that up, and we're going to complete this. It's very similar information that's on your green sheet. You should know most of it already. If we're holding the earnest money, if there's anything that we need to cut out, you'll sign it. And then after this is complete, you're going to go back to your loop, and then guess what you're going to do? Submit for review again. You're going to submit that for review now that your DA request is in there, and see how it automatically went to MCA, prepare DA closing. How cool is that? So that's automatically going to go to Melissa. She's going to read over and sign your DA request, and then she's going to tag it back to you, and she's going to say, attention agent, check, let's see, attention agent, DA signed, and EM, your earnest money is ready to be picked up. You're good to go. You're golden. You're ready for closing. Now, if your loop is not compliant, okay, it's going to be marked attention agent, loop not in compliance. And at the top of your loop here, you might see some things like this. So you might see some tags up here on the loop. You will get an email notification about this. So that is where your handy dandy important abbreviations for contract review come in. Yay! You can access those on the KW intranet. I can also email you a copy. So you can see all of those here. It's the breakdown of kind of what the shorthand is, because Dotloop only allows your tags to be so long. So it'll give you the breakdown of what these little abbreviations mean. So EM, that means we need a copy of the earnest money in there. The affiliated business disclosure. So then what you would do is you would add all of these items, you would get the signatures that you needed, you would get the initials that you needed, and then what do? You submit for review again. Yay, we're submitting for review again. Then it goes to the agent services. Then I go into your loop. That's where we are in the transaction flow chart. That's where we're going to be right here. You just submit for loop for review again. And then I'm going to go through, I'm going to make sure you've added the earnest money, the ABD, the signatures, all that good stuff. I'm going to remove these tags. Now, if you've already completed your DA request and it's in your loop, that's actually great, because that means that now that this is ready for closing, I can go ahead and ping it straight to Melissa and tell her, hey, prepare the DA or closing, because they're good to go. If you don't have a DA request in here yet, then I'm going to have to ping it back to you, and then you're going to have to submit for review again. So as soon as you submit for review, I do recommend having your DA request in there. That way you can just get it out of the way, you know, and you won't have to go back and do it later. So yay, once your loop is pinged to you and it says, you know, ready for closing, you'll have your closing. Either you'll get your checks at the closing table, or if you decide not to do that, you'll bring us both your check, a copy of the settlement statement, and you'll put all of those things in your loop. You'll do your FMLS form notice to closing, and at that point, you can go ahead, you can mark your loop for sold, and congrats. You just went through the entire transaction flow.